it's Noctis. Subscribe to Vincent Valentine EX Turk channel.
Hello, my much friends of chaos. This is your King Knight, Vincent Valentine EX Turk, and we're going to be talking about having a Final Fantasy discussion known as, I call it Final Fantasy Ultra Dimensions, but most likely Final Fantasy Alternate Universes. Now, Final Fantasy, it depends on the game if it has an alternate universe. And right now we're going to take out anything that's non-canon and canon and put them both together as if it was to be released. As you see, let's talk about Final Fantasy 15 since Final Fantasy 15 is the footage I'm using right now. If you take that and Versus 13, in Versus 13, Idolus was supposed to be the main villain. Arya was just supposed to be a play along. Noctis was supposed to go bad. End up killing Stella. What Stella is Luna Freya, pretty much. In that world. Doesn't remember, Ravis gets revenge. Noctis goes pretty bad until the end of the game and figures out what's going on. Final Fantasy 15 plays opposite because Final Fantasy 15 is the normal timeline. The normal timeline and normal universe. Final Fantasy 15 is if something was deterred. Like, think of the Omen trailer. The reason why King Regis sent Ignis, Gladiolus, and Prompto to be on Noctis' journey is because he had the power to see the future and see what happened to Noctis' future and wanted to change it. That's why when he talked to the crystal and Arda was on the other side of the crystal, King Regis asked, how many lives do you have to take this time? How many lives do you satisfied? And Arda replied in the crystal, I'm only looking forward to one. So, pretty much, King Regis had no choice but to choose how Noctis would die. And even though it's messed up, but that's how messed up Arden is. And in both the universes, yeah, Arden is still evil, of course. But one has the full powers of the Star Scourge. If you go into the world of Versus, Idolus is the one with the power of the Star Scourge. If you go into the normal universes, which is Final Fantasy 15, Arden has the power of the Star Scourge. You know, nonetheless, though, it kind of plays a little different. But that's, again, this is a video where I don't talk about what's canon and not canon. Just like there's a Final Fantasy 7 regular that has Crisis Core, Advent Children, and Dirge of Cerberus is still canon in the game. And then there's the universe where it's not canon, which is the Final Fantasy VII remake. Which I gotta be quite honest, I still will never understand why you want to erase old canon. At least reference at least some stuff, you know. Quit act like it's a cop out every time you do that. I mean, let's just go. That's just a little rant I have right there. But the way I see it is, yes, there's multiverses. As if you see the Kingdom Hearts Cloud. The Kingdom Hearts Cloud goes evil because Sephiroth has won the day. That's why the Kingdom Hearts Sephiroth is nothing but pure evil energy. He is Cloud's Heartless in the Kingdom Hearts world. And the Kingdom Hearts verse. Because it's a homage to Final Fantasy VII. Because if you didn't know, Cloud is actually a clone of Sephiroth. At least Hojo turned Cloud into a Sephiroth clone. And Hojo predicted right. He ended up being better than the original one. You know. But most games do sometimes talk about multi-universes, and some don't. Like Final Fantasy X-2, I'm not gonna lie, it heavily implies that there's multi-universes because there's 2 paths and 2 endings. Actually, there's 3 endings in Final Fantasy X-2. One ending has it where you get Titus back. You know, after you defeat Shuren and sent Shuren away. The other one, the normal world, is Titus does not come back after you send Shuren, because that wouldn't actually happen, because Titus is actually a part of Shuren. At least that's what 10-2 made you believe. And the reason why people wanted 10-2 because they wanted to see Titus come back. But nonetheless, it's both. The normal timeline is where Shuren dies, but Titus goes to far plane with Shurian. As in the other one, Titus is saved. The other ending, Titus is saved. And this is not the only time that multi-universes happen. Even with uncanon games now, Dirge of Cerberus implies this very heavy because the normal ending of Dirge of Cerberus is Vincent Valentine standing on the waterfall, standing on top of the waterfall with Shell smiling because he's at peace. His heart is at peace for everything that happened, and it ends right there. And then there's the secret ending after collecting the G reports, where it shows Genesis grabbing Vice's body angle and saying the catchphrase, "Brother, we've got some work to do, my brother." And it has an awesome badass wing and flying out there, implying that they want to make another sequel, but, you know, they're not going to do it. That's what the fan-made novels are for, but yes, there are multiverses, but here's how it works. Some games explain it in detail, and some games, you know, it's just a little part of the lore, but not very much. Final Fantasy 2 is actually alternate universe itself, because even after Final Fantasy 13, if Lightning were to beat Caius, all the events of Final Fantasy 13 2 and Lightning's return would never exist if Lightning was successful in defeating Caius when Caius came to her throne, because Lightning became the new Etro. You know, because Lightning became the new Etro, Caius went after. But if Caius were to lose the battle in 13.2, at the beginning of 13.2, all the things that happened in 13.2 wouldn't happen, and all the things in Lightning's return wouldn't happen. You know, and Sarah would still be alive. But if somehow Lightning were able to lose what she did in the normal timeline, things play out the way it did. And the reason why I include Final Fantasy 13 Lightning's return in that is because the reason why Benevelza, the god of light in that world, wanted to destroy the whole entire world, wanted to, you know, cause an Armageddon, is because he was upset at everything Caius did to all those human beings. The first time in a bazillion years, Benevelza actually pays attention to the world, you know, of Pulse, and sees everything Caius did. That's why Caius is nothing but pure evil energy in Lightning's return. And he becomes the guardian of the underworld because, well, that's the only fate that you can give Caius. I mean, even though he turned good a little bit later, he kind of killed a lot of people. Lots of people died, you know. But yes, there are alternate universes, multiple different universes. Some games put it in there and keep it open to interpretation, or just keep it open, you know, have it as their main lore on one game, or they put it separate, but, you know, parts of it could be an alternate universe altogether. Now, Type 0 is a game. Final Fantasy Type 0 is a game heavily puts in multiverse theory, because there's like, I think about 5 to 7 endings in Final Fantasy Type 0, depending on what you do. You meet Emina. If you meet Emina, Kurosami's supposed to die if you meet Emina, you know, and, you know, replace Kurosami if you play the game without meeting Emina, then you get the normal timeline where Kurosami still lives, only after dying at the end of the ending, because you get a bad ending, meaning that you get the ending where the whole school explodes, all of Class 0 dies. I mean, it's not real bad, because you do defeat the Militestan Empire, and you do defeat Sid Rulstein, the dubbed first File C. But there's so many endings on that game. I've only locked one ending in that game, and that's because I did only the one playthrough, and that's it. So there's more endings in Final Fantasy Type 0. I still gotta discover it, but there's still more. There's still more that's not been explained. But also, sequels and spin-off could count as alternate universes. Okay, just a little bit. Like 10-2 still came after the original 10. Final Fantasy Crisis Core was before Final Fantasy 7. Final Fantasy 7 Advent Children is after Final Fantasy 7. Final Fantasy 7 Dirge of Cerberus is after Advent Children. And depending on what Tetsuya Nomura is going to do with this new canon, yes, I would say, yes, in Final Fantasy, multiverse theory does exist, because everything could be changed. In Final Fantasy games, there's multiple interpretations in Final Fantasy games of what something is or what something isn't. Whether it's in the timeline, whether it's in the lore, whether it's in the story, something can throw a rock at it and change it. Like I said before in the beginning of the video, is, Heaven Lightning would have won against Caius Balin, her sister would still be alive. She would be alive, and the events of Final Fantasy 13-3, doubly called Lightning's Return, would have never happened because there would be no reason for Benevolence to pay attention to the world because the world was saved from Caius. Yes, Caius would die and probably get the worst kind of judgment ever because he's planning to kill a lot of people with the whole, destroying the timeline things to save Yule. Yeah, saving Yule was a good thing. I don't fault him for that, but yeah, you can't just go kill a bunch of people in different time periods and erase time periods. It's not a good thing. It's not very nice. I'll say it's not very nice. But nonetheless, it depends on the games you play. As if multiverse theory... I say multiverse theory exists in all Final Fantasy games because there's something that can be changed. King Regis changed Noctis' path by putting the brothers with him because of everything he saw in the Omen trailer. And remember, Versus 13, again, if it happens as a DLC map, it would be possible to throw Versus 13 overtones in this new world to test out Noctis' will, meaning that the brothers will be gone and Noctis will have to be completely tested by the crystal by himself, just like how Gladiolus is tested by Gilgamesh in the DLC. So this could be either good or bad, but nonetheless, multiverse theory does exist in a Final Fantasy game. Whether whether it has little implications, it's implied, or if the game bases its universe and story off that multiverse stuff, or stuff that's not canon or canon could be considered multiverse. So may the crystal be with you, and tell me what you think on this theory. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share.